Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Making It in Manhattan. As most of you might know, I recently turned 31. So today's episode is going to be called 21 Things I'd Tell Myself at 21. With 10 years of knowledge and experience and trial and error under my belt, I thought it would be really fun to just reflect back on the past 10 years of my life and all the things I learned and things that I wish that I could tell myself in the hopes that it could help you as you're navigating your 20s. So let's get started. So to kick off this episode, I thought that I would reflect back on where I was at 21. So my birthday is in August, so I celebrated my birthday in Long Beach Island, just like I did this birthday, except I threw a house party for my 21st birthday, which I've talked about in previous episodes, and which was a really, really fun time. Right after my 21st birthday, I had my first styling job and I styled two celebrities for the MTV Video Music Awards. And then I went back for my senior year of college. This all happened like in the span of a couple of weeks. So I started off 21 really, really crazy and with kind of this blind optimism in tow because I was going into my senior year of college. I knew that this was like the last year of what I'll call like adolescence before I had to start working full time in the industry. And I'd already started really putting in the groundwork for my dream job. I had already done my internships at Anna Sui and Marie Claire. I was now doing my first styling job for the MTV Video Music Awards. And it's funny, I was reflecting back around my birthday this year. I was saying to Dave, my husband, I was saying, that was 10 years ago that baby Caroline was getting on first of all, had this house party in Long Beach Island. Then my brother drove me to a bus stop in Toms River, New Jersey. I took this bus by myself to the MTV offices in Midtown Manhattan, met up with these girls. They had no idea how old I was, which I just think is so funny. Like, I was a baby. This was my first styling job. I knew nothing. And I just faked it till I made it. I was so confident and so sure of myself. And honestly, sometimes I miss that young, naive girl a little bit because I feel like the world just hardened me a bit. But I had this blind optimism and I just knew everything would work out. Like, I didn't think it would work out. I knew it would work out. And I think that blind optimism and that, unwavering just like confidence is really what helped me get to where I am today. The industry has hardened me a little bit and I sometimes am not as confident in myself anymore. But 21-year-old Caroline, man, she was confident. But at the same time, she made a lot of mistakes because with that blind confidence and lack of experience, you make a lot of mistakes and you learn the hard way and you grow and you evolve. So I go back for my senior year of college. I go in so confidently. Like, I just, am so ready to graduate. I feel like I have all of my ducks in a row. I meet Dave October of that, semester. So meet my husband. Didn't know he was going to be my husband, obviously, at the time. But meet my husband and enjoy senior year to the fullest. But then when graduation was approaching, funny enough, I did not have a job lined up after graduation. Working in the fashion industry, which I've spoken about before, it's not like, I'll say, finance or an accounting job where maybe they'll hire you 6 months in advance knowing you'll graduate in May and they'll save the job for you. A lot of times in the fashion industry, they want you already graduated, they want you in the city, and they want you able to start right away. So there I went from super, super confident Caroline, who felt like she could do anything, take on the world, and was kind of like quickly snapped back into reality when I didn't have a job lined up after graduation. A couple months went by, got my job at Teen Vogue, and then celebrated my 22nd birthday while at Teen Vogue. But there was so much that I learned along the way and in these past 10 years. And I'm calling this 21 things I tell myself at 21, but really All of these tips can be applied to all of your 20s, whether you're 25, 26, 24, whatever it might be. Like, your 20s are such a transformative and important decade of your life. Like, so much happens in your 20s that sets you up for your 30s. So I'm going to just dive into kind of like my little list of 21 things that I think I would tell myself and that I want to tell you guys in the hopes that it can help you as you're just navigating your life, navigating your career, and everything in between. So my first tip, and I say this all the time, so this is the first thing. If I could walk up to little Caroline back then, 10 years ago, I would just tell her everything happens for a reason. Because whether it's a breakup, whether it's being rejected from a job, it could be a friend breakup, it could be a falling out with someone who you thought was so close to you, whatever it might be, there's going to be a lot of things. So this isn't just with jobs, because at 21, I had gone through my first really, really bad heartbreak. I had friends come and go in my life. There was just like a lot of maturing and growing. And, maybe there was classes that I really wanted to, I'm 21 in my senior year of college, that I wanted to be in and apply to, and I didn't make the cut for the class, or I didn't make honors when I graduated. I literally will never forget. I missed it by like a point. I think you needed like a 3.5 to get on the honors or whatever, and I had like a 3.48 or something like that. So everything happens for a reason, and everything needs to happen exactly how it's meant to happen to lead you to the next thing. Because I think about it sometimes, like, I went to a small liberal arts college in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I think to myself sometimes, I wonder what I would personally be like as a person if I went to, say, an FIT or a Parsons. But I would be a totally different person, and I may have never met Dave. I never may have gotten my job at Teen Vogue. Like, everything, literally, I believe in fate so hard, and literally, like, it's so dumb, but like, whether you turn right or left on a street corner, like little things like that, like, everything is supposed to happen the way it's supposed to happen, even if in the time you're like, don't know what the reason is, and you didn't get the job, you got your heart broken, you got cheated on, whatever it might be. Just hear my voice in the back of your mind reminding you everything happens for a reason, and don't get too caught up on things not going the way that you expected it to go. The second tip I would give myself is to invest in yourself. This can be in terms of time, just like investing in learning a new skill. Maybe it's photography, maybe it's painting, maybe it's learning how to speak French. I think when I was 21, I was so caught up in the moment, which is good. Obviously, you want to live in the moment. You're so young. Like, you don't need to be stressing about things. But I think sometimes we focus too much on pleasing others and what's cool and what's happening and what's the next best thing in terms of just like your friend group and your social circle. But take time to really invest in yourself. Also, if you're really interested in photography and that I'm using photography as an example, or content creation, invest in equipment to help you bring your content to the next level. So like, invest in yourself. Investing in yourself can mean so many things. It can be investing in your mental health, taking time to go and talk to somebody once a week, every week, and taking time to do things that make you happy, and taking time to just make you the best version of yourself that you can be. Maybe it's going for a 3-mile run once a week, and it's like your way that you clear your head. Investing in yourself can mean so many different things. And at 21, I was definitely not investing in myself. I was caught up in partying and going out 4 nights a week at college and drinking way too much, and just being a kid. And there's certain things that I'm like, man, I wish I had started like a YouTube channel back then. I wish I had started posting on social media back then. So with that being said, if you have the time and there's something you're passionate about, invest in yourself now in your 20s. When you're hungry, when you have all the energy to do so, do it. My next tip would be stop. This is for me specifically. Caroline, stop buying dumb stuff and save your money. Because at 21, oh my gosh, I was definitely a trend follower. I wasn't how I am now, where I really try to shop based on what I love and what I think is cool and what I genuinely want to wear. Would get so caught up on trends. I'd be buying the next coolest thing, or trying to at least. And I spent so much of my money on dumb stuff. At 21, probably up until about 26, 27, I was still just like buying dumb stuff. And I think back, I'm like, man, even if back at 21, if I was like throwing like $50 into savings every week, that would have been a really good idea, because I probably didn't start like actively being good about saving money until like I'm 31 now, maybe like 28. So I really think if you can start saving money now and stop buying dumb stuff, Caroline, it'll help you in the long run. My next tip number 4, and this is something I wish I could tell 21-year-old Caroline, who is just not on it at all. Get a skincare routine, please, because you are going out all the time. You're sleeping in your makeup. I don't think you even knew what moisturizer was back then. And you can definitely make up for it over time. When you hit 25 and you're like, ooh, I'm going to get some Sunday Riley, and I'm going to get a little face roller, and you can make up for it. But hey, at 21, I wasn't wearing sunscreen. I wear sunscreen every day now. It could literally be a gloomy day and I put on sunscreen, because I'm so big now at 31, and keeping my skin good, and like keeping, I don't want sunspots. Literally, I'm that girl on the beach with a huge hat, pants, a button down. Literally, that is me. I look like a grandma every time I go to the beach. I literally wear my grandma's clothes, because I'm like button down, hat, glasses. So get a skincare routine now. Wear sunblock. It takes 2 seconds to put sunblock on, Caroline. Please put your sunblock on. And you don't need to go get expensive stuff. Go to CVS, go to the drugstore, start with like just a little moisturizer or something. I think back then too, I wasn't focused really on skincare as much as dealing with breakouts, because in college I, like most people, like struggled with acne. And I was fortunate, like I struggled with acne, not like terribly throughout my life, but just like everyone does, like a pimple here, a pimple there. I'll never forget. This is embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you guys. That's how I knew this guy wasn't the one. Sophomore year of college, when I was dating my ex-boyfriend, I don't know how I got it. My one and only, knock on wood, I got a huge pimple right on the top of my nose. Like huge. And I didn't know what to do. Like, you can't control where you get a pimple when. And my ex-boyfriend called me Rudolph, and I will never forget it. So I think I was so focused on dealing with acne and fighting acne and like trying to get clear skin, I don't think I ever used a moisturizer. So my skin was really dry, because I would use products to dry out the acne rather than care about my skincare. So anyway, I could go on a tangent about this, because I'm very passionate about skincare now. But Caroline, please get a skincare routine, and thank God you broke up with that guy. So anyway, number 5. This is another one for me, but this could be applied to any of you, is number 5, Caroline, wear your glasses. You're walking around, you're 21, you are squinting like crazy. You don't want to wear your glasses because you don't think they're cool. You don't think that they're sexy. You don't think that you can still look attractive with your glasses on. And I am now here at 31 to tell you, you have built an entire brand around wearing your glasses. So please wear your glasses. Like, I have so much I could say about this as well, because I feel like, unfortunately, in society and in movies and stuff, it's always like the girl takes off her glasses and then she looks gorgeous. But I feel like one of the things I really want to teach you guys is, first of all, if you need something to see, like, do it. Why are you walking around squinting and then you're getting more wrinkles? Back to the skincare tip. It's just counterproductive. But if you need something and you feel good when wearing it, because I personally always liked how I looked with glasses, but it was this ingrained thought in society that I just couldn't be attractive with my glasses on. And I'm not going to lie, it took like seeing other people with glasses, and also my now husband Dave being like, I love you with your glasses. Like, I don't understand why you feel insecure wearing them. And I guess it's validation from others, but it kind of took hearing him say that, and then also just like some self-reflection. So it could be glasses, it could be anything. If you need something to help life be easier for you, just use it. Like, do it, and don't worry about what other people think, because at the end of the day, no one's judging me because I wear my glasses, except maybe a couple of trolls on social media occasionally every week who feel like they need to give me some insight about not wearing glasses. But aside from those people who I really don't, I've learned now at 31 to not care what trolls and haters think. I truly love my glasses. I even wore my glasses at my wedding, and I'm so happy I did. Like, I know, because in the months leading up to my wedding, or in the year leading up to my wedding, I got so many questions from people being like, "Are you gonna wear your glasses at your wedding? Like you should wear contacts, etc., etc." And I read something online, not even just pertaining to glasses, just also like pertaining to wedding makeup and stuff. And it was like, you want to look like yourself on your wedding. You want to look back and you don't want to be like, wow, that looks nothing like me. Like, which, hey, maybe you look super glamorous and that's great, but you also don't want to feel like that's not you and that's not something you'd normally wear. So for me, always stay true to yourself, whether it's your glasses or whatever. And also, if you're a bride to be and you're thinking about your glasses or not, I cannot say enough good things about wearing my glasses. I'm so happy that I did. My next tip, which goes into literally, jumps off of number 5, is number 6, Caroline, wear whatever you want. I was caught up in a period, if you can believe it, in college when I wore all black because I thought it was cool and I was just trying to fit in with everybody else, and I didn't want to stand out or be too loud. So with that being said, if you're in your 20s and you're trying to find your personal sense of style and you're wanting to wear those bright, bold colors, do it. Do not care what anyone thinks. Life is too short. Have fun with fashion. Wear what you want to wear, because ultimately by 30, you're going to be like, man, why did I waste my 20s caring so much what other people think? Like, life is way too short. Just wear whatever you want. I wish I learned it sooner, but it honestly took a few years of trying to be somebody I wasn't, and to wear all black and to be a minimalist, and then to kind of realize, hey, that's not me. That's not who I am, and that's not what I love. And that's okay. Again, trial and error. Like, you're not going to have it all figured out at 21. Like, there's just absolutely no way. If you do, come talk to me, because I want to pick your brain and I want to know all about how you did it. But for me personally, like, it's been a lot of growth and a lot of trial and error and a lot of like coming to terms with who you are and finding who you want to be. And with that, for me, it came wearing whatever you want to wear and not caring what other people think, because for me, my fashion is such a big part of my identity and a big part of who I am. And so by not embracing that in my 20s, I just wasn't being my most authentic self. So if I could tell you anything in your 20s, wear whatever you want and don't care what other people think. My next tip is, it is okay to ask for help. I think that's something that is really important. I can think back to the beginning of my career and I never wanted to ask for help. I was always really nervous and I always just wanted to try to figure it out on my own, which I think that's good as well, because if you're like a problem solver and your boss knows, hey, I can give her a task and she'll figure it out, even if maybe she doesn't know everything, I think that is okay. But it is okay to ask for help when you need it. So it can be at work, but it can also be in life too. If you're overwhelmed, if you're drowning in schoolwork, if you're feeling anxious or stressed or down about something, like going through a hard time, going through a breakup, like, it is okay to ask for help. Don't be too proud to ask for help, because chances are someone else, a close friend, a family member, even your partner, might also be struggling with those same things as well. And you might be able to have someone that you can really confide in and talk to and open up to. And also, you might open up to somebody, ask for help, and they might be able to give you great advice that could just help you learn and help you grow and just help you become even a better version of yourself. So don't be too proud to ask for help. There's no way at 21, as I mentioned a little bit ago, that you're going to know everything. You're still a kid. Like, I still feel like a kid personally at 31, but I know that, now I'm an adult, but at 21, you are like actually a kid and you don't need to have it all figured out. So it is 100% okay to always ask for help when you need it. And like, confide in your bosses if you just started a new job and maybe you're an assistant to, I don't know, a fashion director like I was. My boss became like an incredible mentor to me and someone who I could really turn to when I needed help or when I wanted to know more about the industry or when I just really didn't know something. And the only way that we built that relationship and then we got closer was by me asking her questions constantly and wanting to pick her brain or asking her, just like, oh, so, maybe she's pulling looks for a photo shoot. Oh, well, how does that work? Like, why do you do that? Or how do you know to pull from this brand instead of that brand? Like, the only way you're going to learn is if you ask questions and ask for help. So I could go on and on about that as well, because I feel like even now at 31, I still sometimes struggle asking for help because, again, you don't want to seem like you don't know something or you don't want to seem too proud. So I'm telling this tip to my 21-year-old self, but I'm still telling it to my 31-year-old self that it is okay to ask for help. My next tip, number 8, is don't stress so much about your body. I can remember at 21, I always hated my body. I always thought I never looked good, which is crazy because I was probably in the best shape of my life at 21 because in college I was a track and cross country runner, and so I had practice every single day, sometimes twice a day, and I still never liked the way I look. I still didn't like that I always thought my stomach wasn't flat enough. I thought my legs were too muscular. I just always had grievances with my body, and I look back now, I'm like, damn, Caroline, you were so strong and so powerful. I joke that I went into retirement from running when I graduated because it was a lot on me and on my body because I was running every day and twice a day, and I started running when I was 10 and I ran in high school. So my last meet in college, I literally got off the track and I said, I'm going into retirement. But with that being said, I was the strongest and in the best shape of my life back then. So give yourself some grace. At 21, there's so many other things you can be enjoying and be looking forward to. And, now my motto is life's too short. Eat the pasta, eat the pizza. I love eating, and I'm Italian, and my family always gathers together over delicious meals. And so I've just gotten to a point where I'm like, don't stress about your body. Life's too short. There's so many other more important things going on. And for me personally, that's something I always would be stressing about and not happy with myself. And I feel like at 31, I've finally gotten to a point where I am happy with myself and can be just content being who I am. I don't need to lose more weight. I don't need to whatever. I'm just fine the way that I am, but it takes time to get there. But at 21, if I could tell her that, and I want to tell all of you that, don't stress. Life's too short. Have the pasta, have the pizza, have the glass of wine. I'd rather always enjoy a delicious meal and a glass of wine with friends than stressing over my body. My next tip is to do things now to set yourself ahead. So at 21, I wish that I had been already focusing on growing my social media and setting out to build my brand and things like that. But I wasn't. I was just young and having fun and enjoying life. But I do think I was subconsciously doing things like doing my internships and doing my first styling job for the VMAs. Do things now in your 20s to set yourself up for success in your 30s. I think that's the biggest and best piece of advice I could tell my younger self, and I want to tell all of you, is even when I wrote my book, Making It in Manhattan, I started writing it when I was like 24, 25. And I think back now at 31, I'm like, wow, blind optimism. I like, where did I get off thinking I could write a book? Like, I was always a good writer, but I really was like, I'm going to write a book and I want to write a beginner's guide to help people break into the industry. And I'm so thankful that I did, because it was the perfect time to write that book, because it was essentially a book for beginners written by someone who was also had just started out. It was when I was working at InStyle. I just worked at Teen Vogue, and I knew so much about just getting your foot in the door and breaking into the industry. So, with that being said, I'm so thankful that I did that back then to set myself up for success later on. But really, I mean, in your 20s, set the groundwork. If you need to miss out on, a happy hour here or there, or go home early from a party or whatever it might be, really, now is the time in your 20s to put in the groundwork and to set yourself up for success. In your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, there's no timeline for success. And I also want to shout that out, is like, you might be listening to this podcast right now at 30, like me, like 30, 31, and feel like, oh man, like, I didn't do all that in my 20s. I didn't set myself up for success, but it's never too late. Like, success comes at different times for everyone, and success is also measured in a lot of different ways. So remember, if you're listening to this now at 31, you can do stuff now to set yourself up for success in your 40s. Like, it's never too late to jump in and dive in. But with that being said, if I could tell 21-year-old Caroline to like get it together a little quicker maybe, and like jump on social media quicker, figure out posting and how it all works. But with that being said, again, back to tip number 1, everything happens for a reason. But I really do think doing things now to set yourself ahead, you'll just be so much more thankful to yourself in the long run. Number 10 that I wish I could tell myself is, it is okay to take time off. I remember in my early 20s, I was paranoid in terms of like, I never wanted to take time off. I was a workhorse and I just wanted to work for my bosses, for Teen Vogue, for the companies I was working at. And I always felt like if I was taking time off, I was being lazy and I was gonna like fall behind. But it's funny, just yesterday I read something online, and it said something to the effect of like, just because you're not stressed and you're not busy doesn't mean that you're not important. And I was like, that is so interesting, because whenever you run into people at events and you're like, hey, how are you? Everyone's like, oh, I'm so stressed. I have all this going on, blah, blah, blah. And everyone wants to talk about how stressed they are and how much they have going on. But that doesn't make them more important than you or more important than anybody else. And I found that so fascinating, because people, I feel like, sometimes equate like how important you are to how stressed and how busy you are. So just something to keep in mind is like, it's okay to take time off. It's okay to take time for yourself. Take that 2-week vacation. Take that week fall vacation. Go to Italy for a week, whatever it might be. Your work will still be there for you when you get back. Like, the company will not shut down. You will not. I used to be like, if I take time off, I'm going to get fired. Like, I used to be so paranoid when I was 21, 22 about taking time off. So that being said, take the time off. Your work will be there. Enjoy being young and traveling. And it could just literally be a day trip to the beach if you don't have money to go to Italy. I feel like on social media, everyone had like an Italian summer. I don't know where they got the money to go away for 2 months to Italy, but I wish I did. But with that being said, it could just be a weekend trip to the beach or whatever it might be, but take time off, because also when you take time off, you come back to work feeling so refreshed and refueled and rejuvenated. I feel like when I take a little bit of time off, I come back to my work or to my closet, my office, and I feel so inspired to keep creating. So, for example, I took off like 4 or 5 days around my birthday this year, and it was one of the first times in a while where I didn't feel guilty for taking time off, which is crazy because I usually feel so guilty taking any time off and away from work. But maybe that's with growth and with becoming 31. But when I came back to work and I stepped back in my closet after vacation, I was like, wow, I feel inspired to start creating again, which hasn't happened in a while. So I think taking that time off is so important. My next tip is it is okay to cancel plans. I think, sometimes in your 20s, you make plans with people and then you just don't feel like going, and it's okay to cancel. Like, I used to, again, feel so stressed. Like, if I made a plan with somebody and then I had a really bad day at work or something like that, and I just would have much rather gone straight home and relaxed, it's okay to cancel plans. It's not the end of the world. Tell the person that, hey, you're just having a really bad day and you need to reschedule. They will understand. I always used to be so hard on myself. I also, in the beginning of my career, I used to book my schedule like crazy. So with that being said, don't overbook yourself, and it's okay to cancel plans when you're just not feeling it. My next tip, number 12, is it is okay to break up with friends. That's something that I've learned now more in my 30s, but at 21, I wish I could have told myself this, because your friends in your 20s or in your teens might not always be your friends in your 30s, and that is okay. You're not going to always have the exact same group of friends. And also, something to keep in mind is from your 20s, from 21 to 31, you change and you grow so, so much. And sometimes friends grow in different directions, and that's totally, totally okay. Even with relationships with a significant other, like a 10-year relationship, you're going to either grow together or you're going to grow apart. And so friendship breakups, which I think nobody really prepares you for, friendship breakups are just as painful sometimes as a relationship breakup. Like, it really hurts the same way, especially if you've been friends with that person for 10 years, for almost a decade, or whatever it might be. But it is okay to break up with friends, because I think sometimes, unlike a significant other partner, you don't think of it like that. You don't think, oh, I can break up with this person. Like, you feel like, oh, I have to be friends with them. I've been friends with them since high school. I've been friends with them since college. I have to stay friends with them. But if you get to a point where you're realizing that that friendship is no longer serving you, and that friendship is only adding stress to your life and adding pain to your life, rather than adding a sense of fulfillment and love as a friendship should, then it is okay to break up with them. And it doesn't need to be like this big conversation. If you want it to be, you totally can. But I think also just like creating some space, not being as available, and maybe only, hanging out with the friend like once every 6 months or here and there. And setting boundaries, I think, is really, really important with friends, because unlike a boyfriend or a girlfriend where you can be like, we're broken up, don't contact me, don't call me, a friend, it's just a little bit different, but it's just as painful. But at 21, I wish I could tell little Caroline, like, you're gonna have friend breakups. There's gonna be some that you don't even realize are friend breakups, because you just kind of grow apart and you just kind of stop talking. And then there's gonna be friend breakups where you're breaking up, it's happening, and it's okay, and it's going to be painful and it's going to hurt, but you'll grow just like you've grown from a relationship breakup, and everything will be okay. And then number 13 is, but always make time for your friends and things and people that do serve you. So life can get hectic. We get busy. We get so caught up in our work. I can remember times where I was just like, work, not seeing any friends. That we'd text and we'd check up on each other and touch base. And then when I finally did hang out and have like a coffee date with certain friends, I would leave feeling so fulfilled and so filled with love and support. And those are the friendships that do serve you and that you do want to invest time in. So, it's okay to break up with people. It's okay to cancel plans, but do make time for the friends that do serve you and do support you and do make you feel good. Like, there's certain times I leave like a lunch or a dinner date with a friend and I'm like, wow, I feel like I just left my therapist's office. Like, I feel great. Like, we just talked about life and we talked about everything. And Your friends, some of them, they've known you for so long, since 21, and you feel leaving just like a weight's been lifted off your chest and you leave feeling so good. So this is just a reminder to 21-year-old Caroline, 22, make time for those people, because you're going to probably only sometimes see them once every 3 months. And that's okay too, because I will say the testament of a true friendship and a true friend is you could go months without seeing each other, and then you see each other and it's like no time's passed. You pick right up where you left off and it feels exactly the same and it feels good. So always make time for the people that do make you feel good and do fulfill you and nourish you and just make you feel all fuzzy inside. My next tip is don't question your gut feelings and your gut instincts. I think a lot of times at 21, for example, you meet a new friend at a club, I'm making this up, and your gut's like, this person might not be the best person. They might not be good for me, but they're so fun and I have a great time hanging out with them and like it's a really good time. And then 6 months goes by and something happens. I'm making this up. They leave you at 2 a.m. drunk in a club, and then you need to like find your way home. Listen to your gut. Like your gut intuition and instinct, I will say, is like 95% right. I will say maybe occasionally I've jumped the gun on someone. I've judged them a little too quickly, and then they've proved, oh my goodness, like that person is so great. Or that was actually a really great opportunity. Like, I should have really taken that opportunity. Like, sometimes your gut isn't always right, but like 95% of the time, I would say my gut intuition and my gut instinct on something or someone has been pretty right. So at 21, when you're naive and you don't want to think, oh, no, like I'm just jumping the gun, like I don't know them that well, listen to your gut. It's there. It's for a reason. It's telling you what's up. And it's kind of like your Jiminy Cricket being like, listen to me. This person is no good. So just listen to your gut more and trust your intuition. Number 15, I would tell myself, make mistakes. And then like 16, I wrote take risks. I feel like those kind of play hand in hand, 15 and 16. Make mistakes, take risks. Like the only way you're going to learn and grow as a person is by taking risks, which then could lead to you making mistakes. Making mistakes is just like a fundamental part of growing and becoming the person you're meant to be. I'll never forget the time I forgot to bring my resume on an interview with Vogue. It was like one of my first interviews I ever did, and I just didn't know back then in 2012 that you were supposed to bring a resume on an interview. No one in like my life had ever told me. No one at like my career center at college had ever told me. Like, how would I have known? So again, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall flat on your face. You're going to embarrass yourself. There's still things I'm sure I cringe over from that time in my life. But take those risks. Don't be afraid to flop, to fall, to be embarrassed, because you're going to get right back up and you're going to learn and you're going to grow from those mistakes to just become a better and more well-rounded person ultimately down the road. And making those mistakes will help you to not make those mistakes in the future. If you make a big mistake, you make it once, you learn from that, you grow, you will never make that mistake again. And that's the beauty of life and of growing in your career and learning just how to navigate your 20s. My next tip, number 17, is the worst someone can say is no, guys. Like, if you're applying for a job, if you're asking for a big opportunity, you're asking for a raise, you're asking for a promotion, you're asking someone out on a date, you're doing whatever, the worst someone can say is no. And yes, it's embarrassing and it sucks or it hurts and it just downright feels awful, but no is not that big of a deal. Like, I've heard a lot of no's in my career. I've heard a lot of no's in my life, and I'm still standing. I'm still doing my thing. I'm still here, and I'm not afraid to be myself and to stand out and to fight for what I want. But I've heard no's as well, and it sucks and it hurts and it doesn't feel good. But also, I say it all the time, more with career, no just means not right now. So if you ask for a promotion, you ask for a raise, your boss says no, give it 6 months to a year, that no could become a yes. And also, you ask someone out on a date, they say no, good. Thank God. It was a meant to be moment. It leads me in the new direction and leads me to my future forever partner. So a no from, someone could be pushing you in a direction for something that's just bigger and better that's out there for you. Number 18, this is something I still struggle with, is not everyone will like you, and that's okay. And at 21, I definitely was very caught up in wanting everyone to like me. Every coworker, every boss, anybody in the industry, anybody I was working with, everybody in college. Like, I just wanted to be likable and I wanted people to like me. But I got to a point where there's just going to be people in life that just don't like you. They don't like you, and there's no reason why. Like, it could be something as silly as, I hate her outfits. She's so annoying. And they don't like you, and it sucks. And you're like, but why? I've never done anything to them. They just don't like you. And that's it. They don't like your energy. They don't like your aura. Maybe your confidence intimidates them to a point where they feel intimidated around you and they don't feel good around you. They think your confidence is cockiness. They just don't like you for whatever reason it might be. They don't like color. I don't know. But not everyone's going to like you. I can even remember like my first job at Teen Vogue. There was definitely cliques within the assistants, and there were some assistants that definitely didn't like me. And they didn't like me because I wore bold colors and I posted on Instagram all the time. They were like, why is she posting on Instagram all the time? That's so weird. And lo and behold, that's now my full-time job. So things that people don't like you for or try to make you feel bad about or embarrassed about, like, oh, that's that girl that posts on Instagram all the time. And what about it? Like, yes, that is me and I'm proud of it. It's okay. Don't stop what you're doing or change who you are to try to make everyone like you. It's just absolutely exhausting. And there's no use trying to do it because not everyone's going to like you. Even if you change yourself. Even if you're like, hey, I know that this coworker of mine doesn't like me, so I'm going to try to, I'm making this up, but, get them cupcakes for their birthday and, be really nice. They're still not going to like you. They're going to be like, oh, she's up to something. She's kissing my ass, to try to be nice. There's no pleasing certain people. There just isn't in life. There's some people, no matter how hard you try, no matter how nice you are, there is no pleasing them. So just remember that and move on and stick to the people who do like you, who do support you, and who make you feel good. My next tip, number 19, is no one will fight for you or believe in you more than you. And that's one of my favorite things that I tell people and that I truly, truly believe in my heart. And I wish 21-year-old Caroline knew even more was, you're building your brand, you're fighting for your dreams, and no one is going to believe in you or fight for you more than you. You're in a group full of people at an event and it's a good networking time. You need to be your biggest advocate. You need to stand up, introduce yourself, fight for yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. There's not going to be anyone that believes in you or believes in the dream or believes in the brand more than you. So you need to be your biggest cheerleader. You need to love yourself. You need to fight for yourself, and you need to not be afraid to stand up in a room full of people and speak about your brand, talk about your brand at any given moment, because you are your biggest advocate. In everything and in anything, you need to be your biggest cheerleader, because that's how you're going to grow and excel your career. And then I have 2 more tips left that, I would wish that I could tell my 21-year-old self. Number 20 is success is measured in many different ways, and it doesn't happen overnight. So I've said this before, and I think 21-year-old Caroline would really need to hear this, because for her, success was measured in having a great job, being at Teen Vogue, being at InStyle, having that job. That was her measure of success. But at the end of the day, I ended up leaving those jobs because I wasn't happy and because I wanted to build my own brand. And then I left. People thought I was absolutely crazy. They're like, what's wrong with her? She's literally leaving her dream job and then went out on my own. It took like a good solid year to really like get on my feet, build my brand. But in that year, I'll never forget, I was featured in an article in Nylon, and it was like, they called us bloggers back then, but there were like 10 upcoming small bloggers like you need to know and follow. And I was like the number one that they listed. And this was years ago now. And I remember like I wasn't paid for that. That wasn't like a monetary success. That wasn't some flashy, oh, like I have a job at Nylon. No, Nylon had featured me. That was a huge success for me and a huge win for me. And so success can be measured in different ways. It's not always monetary. It's not always having a flashy job. You could have the flashiest job and be the most unhappy or miserable you've ever been in your entire life. So I think success is measured in happiness, in enjoying what you do and feeling fulfilled day in and day out. And success is measured in tons of different things. Like you might be listening to this and be like, well, for me, success is this. And success is different for everybody. Everybody's life looks different. And that's the beauty of life. Like everyone's doing different careers and different paths and are on different journeys. So don't get down on yourself at 21 if it's not exactly how you thought it was going to be. If the dream job is not the dream job anymore, that is okay. Success is, measured in so many different ways. And also, it doesn't happen overnight. It's gonna take time. So don't be scared when you graduate college and you don't have a job lined up. Remember, it takes time and it does not happen overnight. And then number 21 of 21 things I wish I could tell my 21-year-old self is everything might not be what you expected it to be, but it can be even better. And I think 21-year-old Caroline could really, really use that because, as I mentioned, I graduated college, thought I was going to be the next big fashion editor. Like, that was my dream. Started working in magazines, really enjoyed it a lot, but just started to feel like this isn't for me. Like, I didn't love it, and I felt like I was working so hard to build someone else's dream day in and day out. And in my heart, I just felt like, man, if I was taking this time and focusing on building my own brand and on building my own dreams, what would that look like? And honestly, I am doing more than I ever dreamed I could do. Like, this is truly my dream of all dream jobs, if that makes sense. This is like, what I do now is literally the dreams like you don't even tell people. They're the dreams like that are so big, you're almost a little embarrassed of them because you're like, could I really build my own brand? Could I be my own boss? Could I really inspire people to just be their most authentic selves and to love themselves? And so it might not be what you expected it to be. It can be so, so much better. So you got to go through the failures. You got to make the mistakes. You got to lose friends. You got to lose jobs. You need to, remember everything happens for a reason and life goes in crazy and unexpected directions, but it'll all lead you to ultimately where you're meant to and where you're supposed to be. So those are my 21 tips, guys. I hope you loved it. My Making It a Manhattan tip of the week, though, is to write down your goals, make a plan, and go after them. Manifest, manifest, manifest. And writing down your goals is so great because you can look back at that list years from now as you get older and just see how far you've come. I keep notebooks all the time. I used to keep a lot more handwritten stuff. Now I keep a lot of notes on my phone, to be honest. But I keep lists all the time, like 2022 manifestations, 2023 manifestations, and I write them down. And every year at the end of the year, I go back and I look at the list to just see how far I've come and to see what I've accomplished. And I love doing that because it reminds you, wow, look at how far I've come in the past year, in the past 5 years, in the past 3 years. So write down your goals, make your plans, and go after them. And my Making It a Manhattan question of the week is, what inspires you to be authentically yourself? This is a really good question. that one of you guys submitted. I mean, I think in terms of what inspires me to be authentically myself is my younger self. Like 14-year-old Caroline, 13-year-old Caroline, like she was authentically herself before the pressures of the world and mean girls and bullies and like trying to be cool and all of that stuff, you know, puberty, all that stuff became very real. So that little girl, she was authentically herself. She wore tutus. She wore crowns. She jumped around and wasn't afraid to stand up in front of a group of people and just be herself. And I think often as I'm navigating and working my way through life, I try to remember her and I try to work hard for her to make her proud and to always just be the version of myself that I know she would look at and just be in awe of. And so I think in terms of like, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I'm struggling with being my most authentic sense of self, is one, think of your younger self, think of that person and think of how they would want you to be. They would want you to be bold. They'd want you to be loud. They'd want you to be silly. And then I think in terms of then breaking down that barrier and that wall to be yourself is really changing your mindset to not care what others think, because life's too short. No one is really judging you or thinking about you, and you're just going to live a much happier life when you are being your most authentic sense of self. So that is a wrap on another episode of Making It in Manhattan. I hope you loved it. I loved going down memory lane and reliving the last 10 years of my life, essentially. Let me know which tip was your favorite. Send me a comment or question for future episodes, and I'll see you guys next week.